Well, hello. Hello again. And welcome to the third tutorial series. So we're going to start the mob AI in this tutorial. Or rather, we're going to continue with the guard and make it more mobby. Mobby? Yeah, if that's a thing. So I thought I'd show you first what we're going to start off with working on. So you'll see, let's just simulate it for now. So this is the old AI guard, and the idea here is that we're going to create a simple waypoint system. And you'll see this guy just patrolling these waypoints. Pretty simply, but we're not just going to do that because that would be kind of dull. So we're going to have a way of allowing you to make the waypoint system a little bit more interesting. Okay, so let's just stop that. I'm going to move those points over there somewhere. Let's just drag them under the terrain. That'll do us. And I'm going to set our guard to not go anywhere initially. So let's go for clear. Okay, so what we want to do is, well, there are two ways of doing this kind of thing, right? You can tell the character to do the waypoint thing. But if you remember when we did the AI guard, we already have it so that it can use a guard target object, or basically an actor, to move towards. So what we can do is we can make objects in the world where if we have a character moving around, we can affect that guard target value. So essentially we can drive the character around the path by just changing the guard target. Basically the guard target is his kind of starting position, I guess. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's create a new blueprint, and it's going to be, let's see, can we do one from, it's actually kind of, let's just do it from actor. And we'll call this Waypoint. So the actor itself, what we want to do is, we've got the scene route. We want to add two components. One is we want the sphere. So we want the kind of collider, and also, just so we can see it in the level, we want a, where is it? I think it's a billboard. Let's go for a billboard. And well, we could change, you could change the what billboard thing. Let's choose one just real quick if we can find one I like. If I remember rightly, it was Target. Let's go for that one. And then screen size scaled. Now, our sphere radius, we probably want something big-ish. One thing you might want to do is you might want to move this guy up a bit. If we oh, that's the root, of course. Damn it. Add a scene component. What? We want this as the root. We want this as don't want that as a child. Oh, come on, let's just delete that for now. So I want the root component, the scene component, to be the root, just because I want to be able to move where the collider is, essentially. So let's add the billboard again, just so it's a child. Call it icon, and again target, screen space scaled, seems alright. So collider, what we want to do is we just focus in on our guy here. We want to move the collider up a bit. And the reason why we want to move the collider up is that the sort of target point here, I want that to be kind of at ground level. It just makes it easier for the AI to kind of head towards it if we don't have different varying heights involved. Technically the AI shouldn't really matter for that. So let's have a think. If we go back to the level, what do we need for this thing to do? Well, we need to handle if a character hits us, right? So if we come to our graph, what we're saying is we really want to use an event here called on component begin overlap. We could have done a sort of normal on begin overlap, I suppose, but whatever. So what we're saying is that there's going to be an actor here. So let's just do is valid. Check on there. So if we've got a valid actor, then we want to and here's the thing, right, we need a variable to say what the next waypoint is. So if we add a variable of type actor, and we call that next waypoint type, that would be useful. So we probably want to check that that's valid as well. So let's just copy one of those. So what we're saying, we're basically doing here is just checking that we've got some valid inputs. So next input goes into there, next waypoint, sorry. So what we're going to do is for each of these waypoints, we're going to have a physical collision with them, and we're going to store on each of these objects the next object to move to. So what we want to say is if we've got a character that touches our overlap, it begins overlap, we want to do some logic on them. So let's just save that for now. So there's one thing that we need to sort of show you. Remember in the AI guard we did an interface for him. Well, we need that same thing again. So let's just have a look at the AI guard. If we go to the blueprint props, and down here there's a bunch of interfaces, and we've got a navigation interface by default, and what I've done is I've added this test waypoint interface. So the test waypoint interface, if I can just find it, has one function in it. So you create the interfaces. Let's just go back to there. Go to blueprints, blueprint interface. So you create a new one of these, and I've called mine test waypoint IF, but you can call it what you like. We add inputs. We've basically got one function, right, and it's called set next waypoint. So we add a function, call it set next waypoint, add a new variable for the next waypoint, add a new variable for the current waypoint, so the waypoint that we're currently at. just in case we need it. We don't actually use that yet. And the idea is that this interface is on objects, or we can see if it's on objects that touch our collider. So that's what we're going to use. We're going to use that touching the collider thing. So if we come here and does what's it called, does implement interface. So this node here says, does the actor that we're using implement the specific interface? And we're going to look for test waypoint interface. So well, what we're saying is, if this thing that touches us implements a specific interface, and then we do an if statement here, then so let's just tie these things up. So if we've got a valid object that's touching us, and we've got the next waypoint set on them, and they implement the interface called test waypoint interface, then we can actually call, give it a second to save, we can actually call set next. Turn off context sensitivity, because sometimes okay, hold on. If you can't get nodes showing up in here, if you go set next way, yeah, it's actually not showing up in there, right? So let's try it in here. Set next. Well, actually it does show up in here. But if you can't find any nodes in a graph, make sure that you use the, if you go to window, palette, switch that on, you'll see this window here, and you can just type it in there. So we did actually find that, right? So set next. Yeah. So what they're saying here is that this is an interface event, or rather an interface node. And again, we can set our next waypoint, and the guy who's going to do it, let's just move those up a little bit. Guy up there. So we're saying whoever hits us, if we've got another waypoint to set on them, and then they have a valid actor pointer, and they implement an interface that we need to use, we can call that interface, set the next waypoint, and we can use a reference to self as the current one. So basically we're saying go to this next waypoint, and we are the current waypoint. Now that should work. So that should have us moving to the next waypoint in if we create some objects. But I just want to just extend it a little bit more with a debug drawing thing. So if you look at debug drawing, let's just draw a debug arrow. And so the line start will start from this actor, so get actor location, and line end is our next waypoint. So let's get, and then get actor to our location again. So just move those a little bit further across. And arrow size, let's make it something reasonable, like, I don't know, 1200. Now the line color, anything you like, as long as it's visible. So let's make it sort of a pinkish thing. And duration obviously is the time that it's going to be visible for. So I don't know, let's say 6 seconds. So what it means is that if we if something crosses by us and touches our overlap collision sphere, then we should tell it to set next waypoint if it implements that interface, and just draw an arrow between us and the next waypoint. So if you save that and come in here and just make sure I've saved the level, we should be able to create one of these things. And you see why I put the sphere above the position of the agent, just so that when we move it around, we can still kind of... Oh, there's something else I needed to do. What we should do also, if we go to the component mode and click on the collider, is not make it hidden in game. That way we can actually see it when we play the game. So let's take this guy and just make sure that he can actually kind of move to our position. Let's, what do we just call that thing? That's called Waypoint. Fair enough. So let's set this guy and tell him to go to Waypoint. I've already created some test ones underneath the terrain, so. And if we simulate, what we should have is the guy should run to this position. And he does. Seems alright. So what we can do is, now that we've got the one waypoint, we can select it and paste another one in. And if we take the first one, called Waypoint. Oh, one thing we haven't done. Stupid me. Go to graph. Haven't made that public yet. So if we save that, just save all this again. I wish Unreal actually select things a little bit easier, but whatever. You'll see that, oh, we should probably put this under a category, but for now let's leave it in default. It's got our next waypoint value, so we can just point it to our waypoint 2. And the idea being that we can essentially set up any number of waypoints. So it's actually kind of useful to be able to do this. So let's see what happens. Our character comes to his guard target and goes to the next one. And you see there's a sort of pink debug line showing where it's going. So we can select our target 2 and copy and paste that. Pull another one. No, don't. Yep, so we can say, okay, waypoint 2, use waypoint 3 as your target, and let's just say that waypoint 3 goes back to waypoint 1. So we should have a guy now that can walk between 3 waypoints. Simple. Simples. And then he sees the thing that to remember here is that if you run the behavior tree from the guard from before, there's a sort of certain distance that this guy will happily kind of run around things. So we'll probably have a look at that in the next video. I wanted to keep this one short just so you could get something up and running. But this is kind of, this is not quite good enough, right? So this guy, if he does see somebody and an enemy, that guy over there is an enemy. If he does see somebody, he will run off, but obviously if he gets too far away, he'll go back to where his guard target is currently set. So there is an interplay between the objects and the distances, and we probably want to fix some of those issues. So he keeps kind of wanting to go and kill that guy, but getting too far away from his guard target and deciding to go back to the guard. But it's a simple way of setting up a patrol. It just does these kind of silly things. So I'll halt the video there, and then we'll start another section where we make things a little bit more interesting with this simple waypoint, and we'll actually make it so that we can do a few different decisions in terms of like when we're actually choosing which waypoint to go to. Okay, so I shall see you in the next video.